People say the deepest darkness isn't under your bed or in a haunted house. It's inside your own screen. And sometimes all it takes is one late night click to open something you can never close again. Alex was just 17, living in the shadows of Manila's forgotten alleyways. Mahirap lang sila. His father disappeared when he was 5, and his mother, though physically present, was emotionally gone. She rarely spoke, and when she did, her eyes seemed distant, as if she was speaking to someone else, somewhere else. The neighbors called her Balyu, but Alex knew better. There was something broken in her, something haunted. He lived in a cluttered barong made of rusted yarrow and plywood near an estero. Every morning, he would collect old wires and scrap metal with his best friend Gio. Is saying Batong Palabiro, always smiling even when they had nothing to eat. Gio was his only light in the darkness, someone who made him laugh when the nights grew too heavy and cold. But something strange started happening around the time Alex found an old phone in a pile of junk behind the church. It wasn't like any other phone. No brand, no logo, no scratches despite looking very old. When he powered it on, only one app appeared on the screen. A red circle with a black eye in the center. The title read, Pinchuan. He tried deleting it, but it wouldn't disappear. Every night after that, Alex would have dreams he couldn't explain. Visions of dark forests, blood-soaked rivers, and creatures with glowing white eyes that whispered his name. One night, while lying beside his half-asleep mother, the phone vibrated. He opened it. The app launched without warning. The screen flashed. Welcome. 16 truths await you. He tried turning it off, but it refused to shut down. That night, his dreams grew darker. He found himself inside a hallway made of decaying wooden walls, lined with doors. Behind each one, he heard screams, laughter, whispers in a language he didn't understand. But somehow, deep down, he felt them. They weren't just dreams. They were memories, but not his. At first, he didn't tell Gio. He thought it was just stress or lack of sleep. But things in the real world began to change. Their neighbor's baby stopped crying forever. A cat with no eyes stared at him for 5 full minutes from a rooftop. And worst of all, he began to hear whispers even when he was wide awake. It always said the same thing. Open the last door. It became clear this wasn't just about a haunted phone. Something deeper was pulling him in. When he finally told Gio, his friend laughed it off, at first. But Gio noticed it too. The shadows behind Alex seemed darker, colder. And when Gio touched the phone, his nose bled instantly. That's when they both knew this was real. To distract themselves, they spent the day watching old horror movies at the pirated DVD stand near the paling. For a moment, it felt normal again. They laughed, made fun of the cheap acting, and bought Isaw from a street vendor. It was the first time Alex smiled in weeks. But that peace didn't last. That night, Alex's mother spoke for the first time in days. Her eyes, once empty, were filled with terror. She gripped Alex's wrist and whispered, "Don't trust the hallway. It's where your father disappeared." Before he could ask more, she fainted. That single sentence shattered everything Alex believed. His father didn't abandon them. He disappeared? Inside a hallway? The same one he was dreaming of? The next night, the phone's app unlocked its first story. 2 sentences appeared in red. My mother told me not to answer the door past midnight. But last night, she knocked, and she's been dead for 5 years. Alex felt his heart pound. These weren't stories. They were warnings, and they were real. The following day, he sought help from an old albulario who lived at the far edge of the barangay, near the cemetery. The man was blind, yet when he touched the phone, he flinched like it burned him. He said one word, Tagapagbakas. It meant the opener. The albulario explained that some people are chosen by forces older than time. These people can open doors between worlds, between memories, between lives. Alex somehow was one of them. And the phone? It wasn't a phone. It was just a key. In a shaking voice, the Albulario warned that each of the 16 stories would take him closer to a place called a Nino Lalem, a shadow realm where lost spirits, forgotten secrets, and dangerous entities waited. Then the man handed Alex an old, polished shell, a Kabibi with a black spiral mark on it. He said it was a Bante, a protector, and that it must never leave his body. Without it, his soul could be pulled into the other side completely. Alex didn't want any of this. He didn't want to be a chosen one, or a Tagapagbakas, or a part of some ancient nightmare. He just wanted his life back. A quiet life with Geo, with cheap DVDs and dirty eyesaw and silence from the dead. But the choice wasn't his anymore. The second story appeared on the app the next night. I woke up to hear my little brother giggling in the dark. I don't have a brother. This time, the hallway dream was longer. One door opened by itself. Inside was a crib. A shadow rocked it gently, then looked straight at Alex. It had no face, but it whispered with the voice of a child. When Alex woke up, there were scratches on his arm. 3 perfect lines. Not deep, but cold. He didn't sleep after that. The tension between him and his surroundings grew. Geo began acting strangely, sometimes forgetting things, other times speaking in riddles. Alex couldn't be sure if it was the curse, or if his best friend was being affected too. He tried throwing the phone away. It came back. He tried smashing it. It didn't crack. He even tried burying it under the roots of the old tree where his father used to sit. The next morning, it was in his pocket. The third story unlocked. That was when the real fear started. But this was just the beginning. Because behind the 16th story, someone was waiting. And it already knew Alex's name. After the third story appeared on the curse phone, Alex could no longer pretend this was just some strange game or vivid dream. Something real, dark, and ancient was reaching into his world. That morning, his mother sat quietly by the window, staring blankly at the alleyway, as if waiting for something or someone to return. Her lips moved slightly, repeating the same word over and over. Dullo, Dullo, Dullo. He tried asking her what she meant, but she just shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. That word haunted him the whole day. He decided to visit the Albulario again, the one they called Mangamon. The old man lived past the cemetery, where even the bravest tricycle drivers refused to pass after sundown. Alex walked the long, quiet path alone, clutching the black-marked Kabibi in his pocket. When he arrived, Mangamon was already outside his hut, standing barefoot on the earth, eyes white with age but strangely aware. "You came," the Albulario said softly, as if he'd been expecting Alex all along. Mangamon didn't speak much at first. He simply pointed to a small circle of stones behind his Bahekubo and told Alex to sit. The air was colder there, and the shadows moved even though the trees above were still. Alex sat. The old man then placed burning herbs on a clay dish, and as the smoke rose, so did something else. Images. Silhouettes flickered through the haze. A man screaming in front of a wooden door, a woman whispering to a serpent in the dark, and a child holding a glowing red stone. "You're not the first in your bloodline," Mangamon finally said, "to be chosen by the Pinchuan." He explained that generations ago, one of Alex's ancestors made a deal with a spirit from the Lalem, the Deep. The deal was meant to bring protection and power, but came with a price. Every few generations, one child would be marked to become the Tagapagbakas, the opener of doors. "It was your father last time," Mangamon whispered. "He didn't survive." Alex felt his whole body go cold. His mother never spoke about what truly happened to his father, only that he left and never came back. Now he knew the truth. He was taken. The Albulario handed him something wrapped in old cloth, an heirloom pendant shaped like a spiral sun, its center holding a cracked, reddish stone. Mutian na dalaylayan mang amon sai. Your father wore this when he faced the Ara ing Lalem. It didn't save him, but it chose you. When Alex touched it, he felt something shift in his chest, as if a missing piece slid into place. The pendant grew warm. The red stone pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside the deep web of spirits and forgotten shadows, there are 16 doors, the Albulario continued. Each one holds a truth, a memory, or a creature that must be seen before it sees you. Alex didn't want any of this. He wanted to go back to his normal life with Gio, his friend who still believed this could all be undone somehow. But when he got back to their alley, he saw a strange crowd gathered. There was a dog, dead in the middle of the street. But not just dead, its body was drained, dried up like all its blood was sucked out. The elders murmured a swang. Gio met him at the corner, his face pale. "Bro," he said, his voice shaking, "you need to see what's inside the church." They ran to the abandoned chapel nearby, the one closed since the pandemic. There, drawn across the altar floor in black ash, was a perfect spiral, the same shape as the pendant. And at the center of it was a doll, handmade from bone and dried skin. Its eyes were red beads. Someone, or something, was watching Alex now. That night, he dreamed of a sea. Not water, but a sea of bones. And floating above, it was a throne made of doors. A dark shape sat there, faceless, wearing a crown of rust and teeth. When it raised its hand, the pendant on Alex's chest burned hot. He woke up screaming. Mangamon visited him the next morning, unannounced. "It's begun," he said plainly. "The Aswanging Anino, the shadow breed, have sensed your presence. They want the key back, and if they can't take it, they'll take you." He started training Alex in the old ways. Ritual chants, using salt to trap spirits, drawing sigils with chalk and charcoal. Alex wasn't good at it, at least not at first. He messed up the chants, smudged the lines, forgot the meanings. But slowly, something inside him adjusted. He learned to listen to the wind. He began to see things others couldn't. Faint outlines in mirrors, blinking eyes in puddles, whispers beneath the floorboards. Gio, though scared, stayed beside him, always making jokes to lighten the mood, even when his hands shook holding the salt jars. But something began changing in Gio, too. Sometimes he would stop mid-sentence, like he forgot where he was. Once, Alex caught him staring into the mirror for too long, mumbling words in a voice that wasn't his. Was the darkness spreading? One evening, as they trained under the full moon, Mangamon handed Alex a map. Not of a place, but of the deep. "The 12th door," he said, "is where your father was last seen. If you can reach it, maybe you'll understand what really happened." But Mangamon warned him, the deeper you go, the less of yourself comes back. That night, the 4th story on the phone unlocked. It read, "She said she'd never leave me, but I just watched her hang herself in my dream. And now I hear her knocking, begging me to let her in." The door that appeared in his dream, this time, had nails sticking out of it. Blood dripped beneath the threshold. When Alex opened it, all he saw was his mother, hanging, whispering, "Help me remember." When he woke up, his real mother was sitting by his bed, holding his hand tight. Her eyes were clear for the first time in years. "Don't open the 12th door," she said, voice trembling. "That's where it lives. That's where he lost his name." Before he could ask more, she collapsed again, eyes rolling back, mouth foaming. Alex didn't know what she meant by lost his name, but deep down he knew she wasn't lying. The world he thought he knew was falling apart. He was being hunted by creatures from forgotten folklore, chosen to unlock doors that led to horrors no one else could understand. And the only person who could guide him, Mangamon, kept warning that there were others like him, but not all of them stayed human. He wasn't ready. But ready or not, the fifth door was coming. And this time, something would come through. Ever since his mother warned him not to open the 12th door, something inside Alex had shifted. He no longer looked at her the same way. She who had always been distant, silent, and sick, now suddenly knew secrets he never imagined she was keeping. For the first time, he began to wonder if her silence all these years was not from trauma, but guilt. He remembered the nightmares, the red door, the whispering corpse, the sound of his name being erased in the dark. That morning, while Gio prepared more salt lines around the apartment, Alex sat alone on the roof, staring at the pendant around his neck. The Mutia Inglayan still pulsed, faintly alive. He thought about his father, how he had vanished without a trace. And now, piece by piece, the truth was sinking in. His father didn't leave them. He was taken. Or worse, he chose to go. And what if his mother let him? The bitterness curled in Alex's chest like smoke. For years, he had blamed himself, thought maybe he wasn't enough. Maybe if he had been stronger, smarter, better, his father would have stayed. But now the guilt had turned to anger. And that anger was a weapon he didn't know how to use. That night, the fifth story unlocked on the curse phone. I asked my brother to hold my hand in the dark. He did, but my brother died 5 years ago. The phone screen cracked, and outside, under the alley's single flickering lamppost, Alex saw a shape standing still. Thin, twitching, head tilted unnaturally to the side. It looked like a man, but its arms were too long, its feet dragging across the ground. He blinked, and it was gone. When he rushed back inside, Gio had already grabbed the salt jar and bat. "You saw it too, didn't you?" he asked, sweat dripping down his face. "The USOG. They're testing us now." Mang Aman had warned them. Before the true enemy appears, the servants of the Laylam will come first. Shadows that slip through dreams, twisted memories that pretend to be family. Later, when Alex checked on his mother, he found her scribbling symbols on the walls using charcoal. She was whispering in an old tongue, one that sounded wrong, too deep, too old. When he touched her shoulder, she screamed like she didn't recognize him. That night, she didn't eat, didn't blink, just kept humming that one note, the same note that played in the 12th door dream. He knew now, whatever was happening, it had already started to claim her. He wanted to leave, run, grab Gio, and escape the city, go somewhere quiet, far from all of this. But the moment he thought it, the pendant burned his chest. The deep didn't let go once it marked you. One day, while buying dried fish at the market, an old woman bumped into him. Her hands were cold, her eyes black as ink. She whispered, "The 12th door is not just a gate. It's a mirror." Alex froze. When he turned back to look at her, she was gone. The stall owner said no old woman had passed by. That night, they lit 7 candles in a circle, as Mang Aman instructed, and tried to perform the binding chant to seal their minds from further invasion. Gio couldn't stop shaking. "What if it gets in anyway?" he asked. Alex didn't answer. He knew the truth. It already had. The deeper he dug, the more signs appeared. He saw names scratched into mirrors, heard crying in places where no one stood. Once, while walking home, a baby's laughter echoed behind him. But when he turned, there was only a doll on the ground, its mouth stitched shut. Worse, he was starting to feel the pull. Sometimes the pendant would glow when he stood too close to shadows. And he'd hear voices, not loud, not clear, but tempting, calling him by name. Not Alex, but something older, something buried. And then came the 6th story. I uploaded my thoughts to the deep web as a joke. Now it won't let me forget what I never told it. That night, the dreams returned, more vivid than ever. In it, he stood before the 12th door. This time, someone stood behind it, knocking, softly at first, then louder, until the wood cracked. The voice on the other side was familiar. His father's. "Alexanik, open it. I'm still here." He almost reached out. Then he saw it, the spiral mark on the door, shifting like it was alive. It wasn't his father. It was using his voice. He woke up with a scream, the bedsheet soaked in sweat, and the mirror cracked across the room without anyone touching it. Later, Mangamon told him, "This is the price of being chosen. The deep doesn't speak in truth. It speaks in need. It shows you what you miss, what you regret, and offers it back poisoned." Alex wanted to shout, "Why me? Why not someone else?" But he already knew the answer. His bloodline had made the deal long ago, and now he was the interest being collected. One afternoon, Gio didn't come home. Hours passed. No call. No message. When Alex found him at the old chapel, Gio was sitting in the dark, surrounded by broken chalk lines. His eyes were red, and his voice was strange, layered, like two people speaking at once. "I saw him," Gio whispered. "Your father. He's still alive. But he's wrong." Alex didn't want to hear it. He wanted to shake Gio, tell him to wake up, that it was just another trick. But something deep in his gut told him this part was true. Then Gio looked straight at him. "What if we're not supposed to stop this, bro? What if you're the one meant to finish what he started?" Alex backed away. Was that still Gio talking? Or something else? Later that night, Alex sat in the dark alone, holding the pendant, the cracked phone on the table. 7 stories had unlocked now. 9 left, each one worse than the last. Each one pulling him deeper into the spiral. And now the worst truth was this. He didn't know if he was still fighting the evil or slowly becoming part of it. He looked into the mirror, and for a moment he saw his reflection smiling back. But he wasn't. Then came the 7th knock. Alex barely slept after the 7th knock. Every time he closed his eyes, the sound echoed inside his head, like someone was knocking from inside his skull. He wrapped the pendant tighter around his palm, as if it could silence the voice whispering in the dark corners of his mind. Gio noticed it too. He had stopped cracking jokes. His eyes had dark circles, and his hands trembled each time they lit another protective candle. "They're getting stronger," he muttered one morning, staring at the growing black mold on the ceiling. "It's not just dreams anymore." The stories on the cursed phone came quicker now. No notification, no warning, just there. When Alex blinked, there'd be a new one on the screen, its message glowing faintly like it had been burned into the glass. "I watched the video that no one survives. Now I see myself walking toward the screen." He threw the phone across the room, but the story stayed there, floating in midair. For a split second, he swore he saw a pale face behind the screen, smiling. That night, his mother vanished. She didn't scream. She didn't leave blood or footprints. Her door was locked from the inside, but she was gone. The symbols she had drawn on her wall had changed. Now they glowed faintly red, like they were pulsing. Mangamon appeared hours later, unannounced. He looked more tired than usual, his long white beard stained with ash. "The deep has opened its mouth," he whispered, looking around the apartment. "And it is hungry." Alex wanted to scream at him, ask what they were supposed to do. But instead he asked, "Is my mother still alive?" Mangamon didn't answer. He only handed him something wrapped in cloth, a small glass vial filled with black smoke and a tiny spiral carved into its cork. "This is for the moment you want to give up," he said. "Don't use it unless you're ready to see what you can't unsee." Alex tucked it into his pocket, even though his hands were shaking. Outside, things were changing. People in the neighborhood started acting strange. A vendor who used to greet them every morning now stood motionless by her cart, whispering to her vegetables. A child stared at the sun for hours without blinking. A jeepney driver drove in circles until his gas ran out, then screamed when anyone tried to touch him. They were being watched. No matter where Alex went, he felt eyes on him. And at night, the knocking no longer came from behind the 12th door. It came from inside his mirror. One night, Gio and Alex stood at the edge of the abandoned rail tracks, where Mangamon told them the ritual space was hidden. "This is where we'll begin," Geo said, voice low. "Where the 12th will rise." They trained when they could, reciting chants, learning old Tagalog prayers lost to modern language, memorizing signs and sigils that burned into their brains like scars. The mutia glowed whenever Alex whispered his name backward, a sound that always made Geo flinch. Still, Alex doubted himself. He remembered his father's voice in the dream, remembered the warmth of it, the way he used to carry him on his shoulders. Could he really fight what once was family? Or was he the one being hunted because he was meant to take his father's place? Each question chipped away at his strength. Then came the 8th story. I closed the door before it opened fully, but now it's inside me, and I open. That night, Geo collapsed. Blood trickled from his nose, and he couldn't speak. His mouth moved, but no sound came out, only a low growl like distant thunder. Alex held him, trying not to cry. He lit every candle they had, drew every symbol he remembered, then screamed into the night sky, "Take me instead." Silence. Then the lights flickered. Geo gasped for air and whispered, "You were chosen because of her." Alex's heart stopped. "Who?" But Geo passed out before he could answer. Alex stared at the pendant. It was glowing brighter than ever. The Deep wasn't just interested in him because of his father. It was his mother. She had made the deal. She was the one who bargained, not to bring the father back, but to protect Alex in exchange for herself. And now, the Deep wanted its payment, with interest. The air grew colder with each passing day. The apartment filled with static. The lines of salt no longer worked. Shadows moved even when there was no one there. And sometimes, Alex caught glimpses of himself in the mirror doing things he wasn't doing. Whispers now followed him even during the day. "Open the door. Open the door. Let them in." Then, a crack appeared on the pendant. A thin line, barely visible but real. It was running out of time. One morning, they woke up to find a spiral carved into their front door. Underneath it, midnight. Rail, tracks alone. Geo begged him not to go. But Alex knew. This was it. He couldn't hide anymore. Couldn't run. The 12th was coming, and he had to face it. As he prepared that evening, dressing in the protection cloth Mangamon gave him, wrapping his arms with binding symbols, he caught one last glimpse of himself in the mirror. And this time, the reflection smiled first. Midnight came too fast. Alex stood at the edge of the rail tracks, heart pounding in his chest. The moon was nowhere to be seen, only thick clouds swirling above him like smoke trapped under glass. Every step forward felt heavier, like something was pressing down on his soul. He clutched the cracked pendant tightly. The old iron rails had changed. They were no longer rusted. They pulsed faintly red, like veins carrying cursed blood. The air smelled like old earth and something burnt. And there, at the center of the forgotten track crossing, was a figure cloaked in shadow. It wasn't the 12th. It was his mother, but not the way he remembered her. She was barefoot, dressed in a tattered white dress that clung to her like skin. Her eyes were blank, completely white, but her mouth smiled, trembling at the corners. She looked peaceful, but twisted. "Enoch," she whispered. Alex's knees nearly buckled. "Mama." She tilted her head. "Hindi ka na dapat bumalik." He wanted to run to her, hug her, pull her away from whatever force had taken her. But something held him back. A thick dread crawled up his back like ice. Then she said something that froze his blood. "You're not the one they're after, Alex. You're the gate." He couldn't breathe. "What do you mean?" She took a step forward. The ground beneath her feet cracked. "You're not just part of the curse. You were made for it, born from it. I offer myself to protect you. But it was never about me." Behind her, shadows rose from the rails, figures without faces, long and hollow. They surrounded her like servants, bowing. "You're the final door," she said. Alex staggered back. It couldn't be. He thought he was fighting against the 12th. But all this time, he was its pathway. Geo was pacing back at the apartment, unable to sit still. The candles were all flickering in sync, as if responding to an unseen breath. He felt something shift in the air, like a click deep in the earth. He opened Mangamon's book again, flipping through desperate pages. That's when he saw it, a page stuck together with dried wax. He peeled it open. There it was, a prophecy, written in ink that looked like dry blood. The final gate shall walk in flesh, born of protection, raised in false light. When the last moon hides, the gate shall awaken, and the world shall choose, open or burn. Geo's throat went dry. He grabbed his knife and the bottle Mangamon had left behind, the one filled with dark smoke. I'm coming for you, Alex. Don't let them turn you. Alex's mother stretched out her hand. Come with me, Anik. I'll protect you one last time. If you give in, they'll stop. You won't suffer. You don't have to fight. But the pendant pulsed harder. Images flashed in his mind. His father, torn by the curse, his mother, crying in silence. Man amon wheatspun waning. Geo laughing beside him in their hardest days. Then another voice, one that sounded like it came from inside his blood. You are the door, but you can also be the lock. Alex dropped to his knees. The ground beneath him rippled like water. From the darkness, something crawled out. Not a shadow, not a ghost. Something older, larger, crawling on all fours with bone-thin limbs and a mouth full of backwards whispers. It circled his mother like a pet. That's the 12th, she said, tears finally forming in her blank eyes. It's not a god, not a demon. It's a hunger, and it lives inside all forgotten things. Alex stood up shakily. What if I don't open? He asked. She cried now. Then it will take everything else. The creature lunged. Alex threw the pendant to the ground. A bright red light exploded outward, knocking the shadow beast back. He ran. He didn't know where. He just ran. Through alleys, over fences, past whispering trees, until he collapsed in front of the church ruins, where Mangamon once told him the curse had begun. There, waiting in the shadows, was another figure. But it wasn't Geo. It was Mangamon. Only not him. He looked different. His eyes no longer carried kindness. His voice, when he spoke, was colder. Did she tell you the truth? Alex stepped back. Mangamon smiled. I thought she might. She was always weaker than me. Then it hit him. This wasn't Mangamon. It never was. From the beginning, the old man guiding him was not protecting him. He was preparing him. You helped me train, Alex whispered. To shape you, the things said. To ripen you. You were the final seed. Then it reached into its robe and pulled out a piece of bone, carved into a spiral. Alex recognized it instantly. It was his father's. You knew him. The creature nodded. I was him. For a time. Alex's breath stopped. You've never known who you truly are. Your blood is borrowed. Your power stolen. But you are perfectly made to open what no one else can. Alex fell to his knees. Everything was a lie. Every person he trusted was a face worn by the deep. Except Geo. And maybe even Geo. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the black smoke bottle. The one Mangamon warned about. The one for the moment he wanted to see what he couldn't unsee. He opened it. The world went silent. Then he saw himself standing before a massive eye, blinking inside an ocean of flesh. Geo, bound in chains, whispering his name. His mother, screaming as the creature crawled inside her body. And the 12th, laughing with a voice that sounded like everyone he ever loved. He dropped the bottle. When the vision ended, he was no longer shaking. He knew now. This wasn't just a curse. It was a cycle. And he was the brake, or the fuel. He looked up at the false Mangamon. I won't open. The thing hissed. Then we will burn the world until you do. Behind him, the sky cracked open. Geo's voice echoed faintly in the wind, calling his name. Alex turned to face the storm. He was no longer afraid, but he was no longer whole either. He would fight, even if he had to fight himself. The wind howled across the ruined church grounds, carrying the scent of something burning, metallic, ancient, and final. Alex stood firm in the center of the cracked stone altar. Around him, the ground pulsed faintly red, as if the earth itself had awakened. In his hand, the shattered pendant still glowed weakly, but something deeper had awakened inside him now. He wasn't just the gate. He was also the key. From the shadows, the creature that once wore Mang-Amon's face crept forward. Its limbs were wrong, too long, bending backwards. Its eyes were hollow, filled with a swirling darkness like ink in water. Its voice no longer pretended to sound human. "You are not supposed to resist this far," it hissed. Alex clenched his fists. "You trained me. You taught me how to hold power. You thought I was just your vessel." The creature smiled, a horrible stretch of skin. "And you still are." Then the ground beneath them cracked, and a wave of black smoke erupted from below. From that smoke rose the true form of the 12th. It wasn't a creature in the normal sense. It was a presence, a vast, shifting wall of mouths, whispers, and blinking eyes that hovered above the altar. The air bent around it. Reality thinned. Alex couldn't move. His body locked, breath shallow. But then, Gio's voice. "Alex!" Through the smoke, Gio ran forward, coughing, blood on his lips. He held something in his hand, a blade made from salt crystal and bone. It gleamed with moonlight, even in the darkness. "Take it," he shouted, hurling it toward Alex. Alex caught it midair. The blade pulsed against his palm. Alive, angry, ancient, the creature roared. The sound wasn't noise, it was grief. Memories of the dead, the fears of abandoned children. The sound of 1,000 people screaming into pillows. "You will not sever me," it snarled. "You are me." "No," Alex said, raising the blade. "I'm everything you try to destroy. I'm every prayer whispered in the dark. Every broken promise healed. Every curse reversed." The creature lunged. Alex met ite heton. The world around him vanished. He stood now inside a vast void. No sky, no earth, just endless swirling red mist. The creature towered above him, shifting form constantly. His mother, Mang-Amon, even Gio's face. All flickering, twisted versions. "You think you can kill what was born from forgetting?" it whispered in all voices. "I'm the shadow that exists when no one remembers." Alex stepped forward, blade in hand. "I remember," he said. He drove the blade into the ground. A burst of white light exploded outward. Suddenly, the creature recoiled, screaming. Cracks formed across its shifting body. Its mouth stitched shut. Its whispers choked. "You're not a god," Alex said. "You're a lie people were too scared to face. But I've faced worse." The mist began to pull inward, sucked toward the blade like a vacuum. The creature tried to retreat, but it was being dragged, screaming, into the light. Its form cracked and burst into shards of shadow. Alex felt himself being pulled too. He dropped to his knees, gripping the edge of the altar. "No, not me." But then, his mother appeared again. Not twisted, not demonic, just her. Eyes soft, voice gentle. "It's okay, Anik. You don't have to carry this forever." She touched his hand. The pull stopped. The light slowed. The 12th gave one final scream and shattered, its remains spiraling upward like ash in a storm. The void faded. Alex opened his eyes. He was back in the ruins. Gio knelt beside him, bruised and crying. "Akala keo nawala kana," Gio whispered. Alex blinked slowly. "I almost did." The altar was broken now. The black rails no longer pulsed. The air was lighter, like a great pressure had been lifted. Gio helped him sit up. "What happened in there?" Alex looked up at the sky. It was blue. For the first time in weeks, truly blue. "I locked the gate," he said. "But part of me stayed behind." Gio frowned. "You mean?" "I'm still me," Alex said. "But I'll always hear it. Feel it. The price of being the gate is knowing what's on the other side." Gio nodded slowly. They sat there in silence for a while. Birds began to chirp again. The town would wake up to peace, but never know the cost. In the days that followed, Alex and Gio helped clean up the church ruins. No one asked too many questions. The townspeople, though unaware of the deeper truth, began to smile again. The strange disappearances stopped. The red mist never returned. But at night, Alex still sat by the window, still holding the crystal blade, now faded and silent. And sometimes, just for a second, he would hear a whisper, not a threat, but a reminder. That evil doesn't vanish. It sleeps, and if forgotten, it returns. One evening, as rain tapped softly on the roof, Gio brought in an envelope he found outside their door. No name, no stamp. Alex opened it. Inside was a photo. His father standing with Mangamon, both of them younger, smiling. And behind them, the symbol of the 12th carved into a tree. Alex stared at it for a long time. On the back, a note in shaky handwriting. "It never started with you. It only passed through you. The 12th has 13 faces. One still walks. Be ready." Alex looked out the window again. The sky was clear. But somewhere out there, the final face of the 12th waited. And this time, it knew his name. The air in the small town of Malaya felt different now. Softer, warmer. The fog no longer crept in during the afternoons. Birds returned to the trees. People walked the streets without constantly glancing over their shoulders. But for Alex, peace didn't come as easily. Even though the 12th had been defeated, the weight of what happened still clung to him, like the sin of fire after the embers die. Every night, he sat by the window, staring into the dark sky. The photo of his father and Mangamon remained hidden in a wooden box under his bed. He hadn't told Gio about the note. Not yet. Not while they were still healing. Gio, for his part, had been the same kind and loyal friend he always was. He brought food, repaired the broken fences around the house, even helped repaint the walls. But something had changed between them, something unspoken. Maybe it was the look in Alex's eyes, the weight of memory, the knowledge that the evil wasn't completely gone. Maybe it was the fact that, deep down, Gio also knew that the battle wasn't the end, just the beginning of something much older, much deeper. Still, they tried to live, to smile, to be normal boys again. They laughed sometimes over silly things, like when they saw their old teacher at the market wearing a chicken costume for a school event, or when Alex burned rice twice in one day. But the laughter always ended too quickly. Behind every moment of peace was the shadow of what they went through. One evening, weeks after the final battle, Alex decided to visit the lake. It was the place where he first heard the whispers, where he first saw the signs. But this time, there was no red moon, only soft ripples on calm water. As he sat by the shore, a familiar voice echoed, not aloud, but inside him. "I'm proud of you, Anik." He closed his eyes. His mother's voice, gentle, honest, not the monstrous version that had been twisted by the 12th, but the real her, the woman who had once tucked him in, brushed his hair from his forehead, and whispered prayers over him at night. "I'm sorry I left," the voice said. "I know," Alex whispered, "but I'm still here." He didn't cry. Not anymore. He just let the silence fill him. Let the water wash away some of the heaviness. When he opened his eyes, something shimmered at the edge of the lake. A small shell, perfectly white, glowing faintly. A kabibi. He reached for it. As soon as his fingers touched it, he felt warmth travel up his arm. Not pain, not fear, just presence. He turned it over and saw something carved inside. Balance. He didn't know what it meant exactly, but he understood enough. The world would never be free of darkness, but neither would it be free of light. He had to carry both now. Back in town, an unexpected visitor arrived. Old Aling Sela, the blind herbalist who once warned him about the Kalimlim, came knocking, guided by her granddaughter. "I've come to return what was taken," she said softly. From her pouch, she pulled out a rusted necklace with a tiny red stone, the same type of Mutia Alex used in the battle. "This was your Lolo's," she said, "before he died fighting the Unang Nilale. Your blood has always been marked by guardianship." Alex stared at it, stunned. "I didn't know he was like me." "He wasn't," Aling Sela said with a smile. "He was stronger." Then she added, "But you are wiser." Alex took the necklace, hands trembling. Now the truth was clearer. He wasn't chosen by accident. His pain, his family, his losses, they were all part of something much older. A line of protectors. The 12th had only been one chapter. There were more to come. But for the first time, he felt ready. A few days later, Alex and Geo stood near the town's edge, looking toward the forest trails. "We're leaving?" Geo asked. "For now," Alex replied. "There's something else out there. That 13th face. I don't know when or where, but I'll find it." Geo nodded. "Then I'm coming too." Alex smiled. "You sure? You burned rice twice, remember? Someone needs to cook." They both laughed, this time longer, fuller. Then, without looking back, they walked into the trees. In the months that followed, whispers of strange things started appearing in nearby provinces. Unusual deaths, animals behaving oddly, whole villages reporting collective dreams of red skies. But wherever those whispers went, there were new rumors too, of a teenage boy with quiet eyes and a white shell around his neck, of a loyal friend who laughed even in darkness, of people healed, of spirits calmed. The towns didn't know their names, but they remembered their presence. And somewhere deep in an abandoned village, carved into stone, the light survives not because it's stronger, but because someone chooses to carry it. One final night, Alex stood under a sky filled with stars. He took out the photo of his father and Mangamon. He set it on fire, letting the flame eat the past. Then he whispered into the night, "I'm not your gate anymore. On my own." He dropped the last ashes into the wind and walked forward into whatever story came next.